All good?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, I was just being sure I didn't see us there. We're calling to order the Housing Human Welfare Committee meeting. This is our last meeting with the current council as it stands. So it's a relatively light agenda. It is October the 20th. The time is 6:35 p.m. First start with the roll call, starting with Alderman Huntley.
Present.
And Alderman Shandelmeyer.
Present.
And myself, Alderman Gay. I'll then move on to the approval of the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Or I'm
so
sorry,
moved.
is there a motion?
Second.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, none. Next item on the agenda is approval of the amendments. Our last meeting was 9/10/25. Is there a motion to approve the amendments from the last meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, second. Sorry.
No problem. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Next item on the agenda is reappointments and appointments, starting with AP 5625, appointment of Ms. Janine Tasker to the Human Relations Commission. Is Ms. Tasker joining us this evening? I do not believe so, and I don't see a screen coming forward. So what we'll do is make a motion to approve AP 5625 for the full council. And next Monday, if there is an opportunity for questions or concern at that point, then we can pull it from the agenda. But I'd rather keep it going than hold it in a null and void spot. So is that fine?
Well, actually, Mr. Chair, before we make that motion, there must have been some issue with the uploads because Ms. Tasker's resume was not attached to the AP link, at least on Legistar. Perhaps on Granicus it was, but I have not been able to access it. Same thing with Miss Britton.
Here, yeah, on Granicus it is available. Both the application and I believe the resume. I'm trying to scroll here quickly. The resume is
able to access the application, but not the resume for both our applicants tonight. And that's not me calling their qualifications into doubt. I can't see their resume.
No, you're correct, and I stand corrected. It's just the application, the resume. It just says please answer here or attach your resume. So I'm assuming they attached the resume, and the ombudsman's office keeps their resume on file. And so I know in the past that is sometimes available, but we can have that sent over.
So what we did in Economic Matters for a meeting where an applicant did not show up, but because we did not want to hold it up, is we made no recommendation and then just asked for a request for them to come to the full council meeting be made. And especially considering they are not here and I cannot see their resume, while I'm very sure and confident they are qualified, I don't feel comfortable making a positive recommendation without at least seeing the resume in front of me. So I cannot in good consciousness vote in favor of a favorable recommendation just because of that. Do any of my colleagues share my sentiment or?
Alderman Huntley?
I get where you're coming from, Alderman Schneidermeyer. I did read through their responses beforehand, which delve into a lot of their qualifications. Explaining what kind of work they currently do and their education. So I don't feel like there's a ton of marginal difference with getting the resume, but if you would prefer to wait, then I'm fine to defer to you.
Well, here's what we'll do for the case of AP 5625. I will allow for it to move forward with no recommendation. I'm not going to put a request that she show up to or the applicant show up to a council meeting. I don't know if that is even feasible for the applicant. So what we'll do is just, Caitlin, if you could make a note that we ask Ms. Raftovich to get us the resume, or ask the applicant to attend if she doesn't have a prepared resume. Is that fine?
Yeah, I'll look into that because it should be attached.
Okay.
I'll take a look at the paper, her appointment tomorrow, to make sure that it was scanned through correctly.
Okay. And I don't want to jump ahead, but on AP 5725, I know that the resume, for example, for Mrs. Bonham, I know that the resume is attached because it says upload a resume, and I can see that she's uploaded, her document. And so that's why I'm thinking like the resume it would have to just be printed separately.
And I can all parts of that. What happens is that it's redacted from Miss Raftovich redacts it. So there could be a mix up with the paper that I have, that one she gave me that I scan in for you all and upload it to Legistar. But I can check that tomorrow.
Okay.
I am also not able to access Miss Bonham's resume, just her application, but Miss Bonham is here, so I'm much more amendable to going forward on recommendations for her when we get to that point. But
okay.
So, Mr. Chair, if we'll entertain it, I'd like to make a motion for no recommendation on. Shoot, I just accidentally deleted the resume. I'd like to make a recommendation for a motion for no recommendation on AP 5625.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None. Fantastic. And either we'll get you the resume, or we'll have Ms. Raftovich reach out and we'll clear
I'll
that.
make sure you guys have it before Monday.
Awesome. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is AP 5725, appointment of Mrs. Valerie Bonham to the Commission of Aging. And Mrs. Bonham is present tonight.
It's true, I am present.
Thank you for joining us again. And I appreciate you for applying to serve on this commission. We have here your just a brief background of explaining why you're interested in serving on the Board of Commissions. I won't ask you to repeat that verbatim, but if you just like to briefly sum something up, and then I'll entertain questions from the committee.
Sure thing. So first, thank you all so much for your time this evening. I appreciate it. Second of all, so my name is Val Bonham. I was actually born in Annapolis when the hospital was still downtown in 1969. And I grew up here. And then I spent a fair amount of time over in the Bethesda area. Then my husband and I moved back here about 5 years ago. Now, the reason why I am interested in serving on this commission is because, so my professional background is actually medical ethics and medical ethics and law. My youngest child is a high school senior this year, which means I like to envision a world in which I have a little bit more free time. And my sort of, again, motivating force is integrating ethics and law and trying to support people. And while my professional focus is on children, I have a personal interest in older folks as well. My father lived with us here in our house until he passed at 88 earlier this year. So my whole reason to want to do this is it is strictly I can't think of a not aggrandizing term, so just forgive me. It's been a long day. Strictly out of like wanting to do a good thing. It's
altruistic.
Thank you. I knew there was a
looking
word for what I was searching for. Thank you kindly. So it's pretty much strictly altruistic again. My husband's not convinced that I'm going to have more time in my life, but I am. And so it just seems like a good time and somewhat serendipitous. But happy to answer any questions you might have.
First and foremost, incredibly sorry for the passing of
Oh,
your father.
Thank you. I didn't mean to make you sad. I was very lucky, and he lived here. I lived with him for a long, long, long time. I'm very, very lucky. And I will tell you, as somebody who is exceptionally picky about healthcare providers, those folks on Milkshake Lane were just so great. I mean, anyway, but
Yeah,
the
and
the last months of his life.
yeah, I know exactly which place you're talking about, and yeah, just wanted to extend those condolences there, obviously, and I see Alderman Shandemeyer has a question, so I'll turn it over to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bonham. So thank you again for joining us and your interest in this position. So unfortunately, because again, the weird tech issues with the resume access, I unfortunately can't see some of your professional background. If you wouldn't mind giving like 3 professional highlights that you're comfortable sharing with us and the public that you would like to highlight for someone who cannot see your resume, but you're really proud of on it.
Yeah, not a problem. So I went to Rice University in Houston, Texas. I majored in medical ethics. I went to the University of Virginia School of Law in Charlottesville. I majored in law. I have worked in the area of healthcare law and ethics for my whole career, which is give or take 30 years. And I did spend a couple of years there as the executive director for President Obama's Bioethics Commission, the first executive director of that commission. So again, there used to be this New Yorker cartoon. I live in that space between law and medicine, but that's pretty much what I do. And I believe that I bring a practicality to trying to find solutions and speaking relatively plainly with folks. As I said, I'm older now than I used to be. By
So am I.
As we all are every day. But I'm pretty passionate about individuals' rights, and individuals' rights in the healthcare system can be especially complex and challenging. And look, to be fair to healthcare providers, again, I represent healthcare providers today. I work at Children's, and it's hard. There's a lot of things about contemporary society and day to day that are tough, but I believe pretty strongly in trying to look out for folks who I'm just going to loosely say elderly folks for lack of a better word, in the issues that they face near the end of life, or before then, hopefully many decades before then. Before I went to law school, I worked as a research assistant to this sort of famous lady in medical ethics world, maybe not famous for the whole world. And she was a geriatrician, right? So she worked with people later in life. And she wrote all these books about end of life decision making and denying food and hydration and various things like that. And I don't know, that was a very moving opportunity for me before I went to school. And I think that there's a lot, I happen to believe in the idea that individuals can make a big difference, particularly if they get in the game of any particular challenge, maybe before it gets worse. So that's longer than 3 highlights, but hopefully it gives you a sense of my background and interest.
I appreciate details, so thank you very much for that.
You bet.
That runner.
Fantastic. I appreciate that as well. Alderman Huntley, did you have any questions?
No, I read the materials ahead of time, and I was really just from the little bit that's on here, I was very impressed, and I'm absolutely ready to make a motion to approve.
Second. Fantastic.
And again, Ms. Bonham, we appreciate you joining this commission. I think in particular with the population of Annapolis, an active older population, I think this commission in particular could be a strong and a vocal point for them. And so look forward to the participation there. And there's been a motion, a second. I'm calling for actually, we're just making a favorable recommendation. So is all in favor? Say yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Thank you. Ms. Bonham, we appreciate it. If you wish to join us next Monday in person, you can.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate you all and all that you do as well. Take care.
No problem.
Thank you.
I just wanted to be clear that there was a motion for a favorable recommendation. I'm sorry. Next item on the agenda is general discussion, starting with ID 14625. This is just a closing out overview of all things going on with HACA as we close out our year. And Ms. Maddox Evans is with us. It actually, Ms. Maddox Evans, before you start, if we just really wanted to, because some of our guests are just here for ID 14725, which is the Affordable Housing and Community Equity Development Commission. If we could carry that first, I don't know, Caitlin, do we have to make a motion to do so, or it's just general discussion? Can I just move that?
I think you can exercise your chair's prerogative.
Yeah, I was just about to say you can exercise your chair's prerogative. Can't even say it right and do that.
Fantastic. Okay, we'll just do that quickly. I just obviously wanted to extend a sincere thanks to the committee members of, or the commission members of the Housing or Affordable Housing Community Equity Development Commission, which was previously our joint commission. We worked with them and voted together up until about 3 years ago. And then things kind of, we had to part ways, due to the law. And but I just wanted to extend a sincere appreciation to you all for your work on affordable housing. It may seem, at times that the work seems unnoticed, but it's a really a difficult sacrifice, a time crunch, and trying to put ideas together and policy together for a council that you're just not sure really, sometimes how they're feeling on housing affordability. And so you all have done a lot. And in particular, to me, what means a lot is the Housing Affordability Task Force, obviously, which I thought at the time really shifted the conversation and helped us pinpoint a lot of holes in housing. And so to you, Ms. Britton, for joining and jumping on and being fantastic in that transition. And Ms. Ruffin, who joined later on through her role with our Office of Community Development or Housing and Community Development. So just again, sincere thanks to you both. And please pass that on to the rest of the team. And if any of my colleagues would like to say anything as well, please, now's the time. I think they may see you again soon. So Alderman Schandelmeyer.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say thank you to HACA and the commission. Tackling housing issues in this city is hard. Anytime you try to disrupt the status quo, it brings people up in arms, but you guys come to work every day, roll up your sleeves, and try to make this city a little bit more of an even place for our working families. And we see the work that you do. The folks in the neighborhood see the work that you do, and they appreciate it. They may not have time to come to city council meetings, but they know and appreciate it. And they know you're trying and working hard.
Alderman Huntley.
Gosh, I don't think I can say better than that. Yeah, I guess to kind of echo some of what Alderman Schandelmeyer just said, I talk a lot about this distinction between what people say when they come to you and what people say when you go to them. And housing is the issue that we really see that discrepancy on, where the people who are who come to you don't have the same needs on housing as the people who you have to go to. And I mean, that's true empirically, right? We have all sorts of evidence to show that that's a fact. But I think it can make things very dispiriting that you feel like too often you hear about how we don't need any improvement. And in fact, when you go out and actually talk to people, they'll tell you about all of the things that are impacting them. Alderman Schandelmeyer could list a half dozen heart-wrenching examples of people who desperately need additional housing that they can afford. So, yeah, I really can't say it much better than him, but I appreciate the effort that all of you have put in, and I really hope that 2 months from now I'll be sitting around talking with you some more.
Yeah, and so Miss Ruffin, if you wish to speak, you can as well.
Well, now
I
that
know-
I'm off mute,
Can you,
I was making comments before and I was completely on mute. Of course, I'll miss you. I loved working with you right from the lighthouse all the way through now. The whole commission, the whole committee, everything you guys do. So we will keep working and look. Well, now that I find out we really can work together, is that what you're telling me?
well, we don't know the committee assignments, and so this is our last meeting with this group all together. And also, let me extend and we'll wrap this up quickly because I don't want to hold Miss Maddox Evans for too long either. But also, I want to extend gratitude to Miss Tierney, who served on this commission for and gave her all from Board One, and also Alderman Rodriguez was here, and he actually was a main sponsor in making sure that the Affordable Housing and Community Equity Development Commission could stand alone and had teeth. And so I also want to send some gratitude to them. And please, Miss Britton and Miss Ruffin, I'm sorry.
No, oh good. I'll let Denise talk, but I just want to say, great job. I hope that we can work with whoever's the new members in the future and be a little bit more action oriented this time. It's tough out there to get things done.
Absolutely, and that's why we are banking on some things, Miss Ruffin.
Gotcha.
I just want to say thank you. This is Teresa Wellman ran this committee, and I was just the support behind her. So I have to attribute most of what this committee has done to her.
Absolutely.
She has been a wonderful teacher, and she's made me understand a lot about Annapolis, and you can really see the need out there. I think that people just walk through with blinders on and they just don't want to see the real need of the constituents, your constituents here in Annapolis. And I think this upcoming year, and I'm so looking forward to Miss Maddox Evans and her redevelopment of housing, and I'm 100% behind her. I'm 1,000% behind her.
Same.
What she's trying to do, because I've been in this business a long time, and I see how changing of the bricks and the mortars change people's outlook on where they're going and where they're heading in life. So that's my comment. Thank you guys.
That's great
for inviting us.
No problem. Thank you all very much, and feel free to stick around if you'd like to hear Miss Maddox Evans' presentation. But if not, I totally understand. And again, we really, really appreciate you all. And we'll see you in the future as well.
All right. I'm definitely listening in. I'll get off camera and I'll mute myself and try not to talk through it. Thank you, guys.
We'll move on to our next item on the agenda, ID 14625, HACA overview, starting with Ms. Maddox Evans, who we're also incredibly grateful for. And I'll turn the floor over to you to kind of walk through any main points you'd like to share with us. And we appreciate you joining us tonight.
Thank you for inviting me back to speak with you. And it is great to be able to share some really positive things that have been happening in the past few months. But before I get into that, I just want to personally extend a sincere gratitude towards you, Alderman Dewan Gay, for really being a steadfast advocate for HACA and really all affordable housing communities, because I do not think without your determination that we would be able to, you and along with your fellow commission members, Alderman Shandelmeyer and Alderman Huntley, particularly this commission was had the most strongest advocacy for our needs, and I think understanding of the challenges that our organization has had, and really a lot of affordable housing organizations have had. So I look forward to meeting the new commission members and getting to know Ms. Britton and others. And of course, it's always a pleasure working with Denise as the liaison. She serves as a great liaison between HACA and the city. I can always rely on her to tell us the truth of what needs to happen either way. And she's incredibly supportive, which I think as a preface to the updates I want to provide is really key, that there be a mutually supportive relationship between the city of Annapolis and between the housing authority of the city of Annapolis. And because the challenges of affordable housing are so vast and deep, and they require a great deal of collaboration in order to see some progress. On the development end of things, I'll give you a brief overview. We are happy to be recently awarded a 9% tax credit award from the state for a Robinwood neighborhood. And along with a 4% tax credit application, we're going to apply for a twinning project for Robinwood, which means that there will be the possibility of adding some density. We had our goal was to add at least 50 or so new units, hopefully up to 70. We know there may be some issues with current zoning, but that's a little bit far away, and there'll be some things that more projects we can work on to get to the zoning goals. But we have some incredible leg room funding wise to be able to add density. Why adding density is so important is because in order for an affordable housing portfolio to be financially sustainable, it must be supplemented by various income ranges within that portfolio. And historically speaking, HACA has not had the benefit of having that mixed income portfolio, which has led to there being long-term challenges in keeping the properties up, keeping the rents where they need to be so we can sustain the properties, et cetera. So, but with that funding, along with, we have a $1.5 million dedication from the state to rebuild the community center at Robinwood. So we look forward to utilizing that. And of course, all of the other investments from the county and the city, so on. So we're in the process of solidifying the financing for Robinwood. We're also in the process of solidifying the financing to upgrade Bloomsbury Square. Even though it's one of our newest properties, it's still aging because it was built in 2003. And so we're in the midst of applying for a 4% tax credit for that project. We hope to close on both projects either by the end of next year or the beginning of 2027. Once we close, that's when all the renovations begin and/or new construction begins. So we anticipate that starting, those phases starting somewhere in mid-2027. For Eastport Terrace in Harbor House, we have just introduced the selected development team, which is Genesis and Monadnock, and who are also using local architects with the Winsett Group and also local builders, the Hamel Builders, to tackle the Eastport Terrace Harbor House project, which we also intend to apply for Choice Neighborhood funds. So we're very excited. We had our first resident meeting a couple weeks ago at Harbor House. And this year, we're also doing the work of solidifying the financing. And we'll hopefully close on that project also 2027. So we'll be simultaneously moving 3 major projects at one time, which is awesome. And that's our future path and what we're working towards right now. So I'll answer any questions about that.
Thank you so much.
projects.
So much, Miss Maddox. I mean, that's I've been clearly fantastic work, and why I've been a huge supporter. My one question: density obviously impacts how much you are financed, correct?
Correct.
And so, with the uncertainty in, you know, the city zoning code, and how are you shoring up the financing, in particular for a project like Eastport Terrace and Harbor House? I'm
Mhm.
not sure if we've gotten to the point, at least I don't recall, where planning has come to us and have asked for
Mhm.
specific changes for a project like that, or something. And so, is that? I mean, obviously, that'll be something that you'll need in the next council, correct?
Correct. And those are great questions. Under the current zoning limits, we can increase density up to 626 units. We can build more. And for our choice neighborhood criteria, we needed to hit around the 622 range, which is why we wanted to incorporate the Spa Road site
Okay.
to build additional units to help offset. We designed that project not assuming we could get any zoning changes.
Fantastic.
But with that in mind, we will also, there are always variables and there are things that change and needs that change as we go about doing the project. But that's the initial planning set projected, utilizing 2 different sites to build the overall project.
Thank you for that. Alderman Schendelmeyer, see your hand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Director Maddox Evans, just want to make sure I understood. So you had said we have finalized a developer for the Eastport Terrace and Harbor House renovation?
Yes.
That is wonderful news. Can you repeat who they are?
Genesis.
Genesis.
And the information is the city is helping us with a website. It's called eastportcni.org. And we posted all the information about the developers on that page. So you can review it. We even posted a couple of their presentations that they've given so far.
Now you said I'm sorry. Now you said we're going with local builders, local architects. Are we trying to recruit local labor as well? Or are we just going, you guys know what you're doing, you have at it?
No, that's absolutely part of actually our solicitation when we select developers is evaluating their ability to hire locally.
Okay.
For many of the trades that are involved in and apprenticeships that could be performed during our project. So yes.
Prevailing wage?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to hear that.
There we go. Okay, cool.
Just a second. I have a not that I disagree, but my question, because are there federal? Does the feds have? Do they cap that in any of that, because this would be a federally funded project?
We do have Davis-Bacon requirements that are associated, but I will say, because this is a multi-use, multi-phase project, the funding and requirements may be slightly different per phase in what's included in that phase. And so how much residential versus commercial building, whether some of the commercial aspect will be a separate phasing. So we haven't gotten quite there with regards to identifying the type of structures that are going to go in each phase. But because there's going to be a variety of mixing, all of the requirements that are attached to those different types of housing and or commercial build will have to be attached to it. So whatever state or federal requirements are.
So Director Maddox Evans, when you get the opportunity, I would love to find time to do a virtual meeting or a phone call or an in-person meeting with you to talk a little bit about those wage requirements, etc. But I won't hold up the meeting for that here. Thank you.
No problem.
That's a fantastic point, Alderman Schendelmeyer. And something that I know you will focus on in this project, as well as I think what's important is that there is often language signed into contracts that says, yes, we will hire local. And one thing that I noticed in particular on, and I don't want to bash the project, but yeah, I'm on my way out. But Hillman Garage, you know, there were requirements to hire local, but when we say local, I mean like residents of Eastport Terrace and Harbor House, finding them the appropriate program and grant funding necessary early on enough so they can take the courses to have the skills necessary to actually be hired on these projects. And Alderman Shannon, I know that's something that's really close to your heart, and I know that you have great relationships, and so I'm glad that you were able to ask that question.
One of the great parts about prevailing wage and apprenticeship programs is people get paid to learn skilled trades.
Amen.
I've been taking some of our colleagues and future colleagues out to tour some of the wonderful schools that the hardworking men and women of organized labor have around their wonderful state, and I'm happy to take the director out to any of the schools if she's interested as well. They love to show them off their good work.
Fantastic.
Can I chime in here for a minute, you guys?
One second, Ms. Ruffin. I see the alderman has his hand up from Ward 1.
I couldn't find the hand put up, so that's why I spoke up. I'm sorry.
If
No problem.
Miss Ruffin has something time sensitive, I don't mind letting her go first.
Well, in my experience of the redevelopment, I just wanted to share what my experience has been, where when we redeveloped a lot of the housing in Baltimore, and I know it's been many years, but I watched them actually set some residents up in businesses. I've watched them hire residents to work, train them. And so I'm almost certain that under this Choice Neighborhood Initiative that there will probably be similarities. And so what Melissa and Brooks is concerned about, I think that will probably, I'm hoping it will be part of this redevelopment project, and it really was successful because it gave people opportunities to have jobs. And I know about 4 or 5 residents, actual people that were living there, set up businesses and continued after the development was over. So
that's fantastic. I appreciate that very much. And again, I think some stuff that makes all of these our team special is that there's lived experience in all capacities. Alderman Huntley?
Director Evans, I just have 2 questions for you, but they're both super broad. So 2 buckets. I think let's take them one by one. The first is for all these projects. How are we thinking about? Well, first of all, let me say, really excited about these projects, and they're great. But how are we thinking about mixed uses, right? I love that we're doing mixed income. My philosophy to put in a slogan is all of our development should be mixed income and mixed use. And so wonderful to have more people. I don't want a situation where we end up with 600 people and they got nowhere to go and nothing to do. So whether that's a more public amenity like a recreation center or a more private amenity like a grocery store, could you just tell us a little bit more about, for each one of these, maybe you want to think of it as 2 or maybe you want to think of it as 3 developments that we're talking about, how are we factoring in that aspect of what are the people who are going to live here going to do?
Sure.
Especially considering that a lot of them don't have cars.
Sure. Those are great questions, and ones in which we contemplate when we think of and plan for these redevelopment projects. So for Robinwood, we are, of course, going to build a community center, but it's going to be also served as a multi-purpose center, where we're hoping there could be different organizations that are housed within that structure, and that they be organizations that serve the community. We have longstanding relationships with particular organizations. With the Boys and Girls Club, with Pastor Menendez group, several other groups also. who are very interested in having more of a permanent space there. We are also interested in commercial aspects and are exploring what, if any, could be performed at Robinwood, whether it be even a child care center or some other type of amenity that's not already provided within the area, but definitely not a gas station. But for Eastport Terrace and Harbor House, we're doing the same. We actually have already begun relationships with for example, the Y Head Start program. We began a pilot program which launched this year. We allowed them to convert part of the community center with the hopes of that they will also join us in the overall redevelopment project to build a much larger Y Head Start Center that can serve the local community. We plan for there to be some sort of retail, maybe a small convenience store of some sort, or some type of entity that can provide some groceries to the area. We know the site's not suitable for a large scale supermarket, but some sort of convenience store that would be helpful to the residents. We've also, the residents have also expressed a need for some sort of health clinic, health center. And so we're all in communications with all of these various entities, including the school district. We're in communication with Annapolis, Anne Arundel Public School System as well, to see what we can envision going forward. It could be a local training center for adults, for example, or something that we work with the workforce development organizations. The possibilities are really endless, but that is what is incorporated in our overall plan to try to introduce various elements that are needed recreationally, health-wise, education, job training. So those are some of the core categories. And now is the time in which we are forging those relationships to see who would like to join us when we go into those various phases. So we also welcome suggestions and input. So if you know of an organization or a business entity that might be interested, please give us their contact information. We'll reach out to see if there's synergy there. If their ideas work well, with the community, we're always open. And so, but those are just a few of the ideas so far.
Thank you. No, that's very interesting and reassuring to hear. The other question I had for you, and you started to allude to this both in your most recent answer and previously, is about zoning and the requirements in the code. And obviously we had a bill before us on a week ago that dealt with zoning and density. So I wonder if you can just speak to sort of how the current state of our zoning impacts has shaped these projects. What will or will not have to change based on the changes for Monday, and any future changes you might be interested in with the city zoning code.
Well, thank you for that. I think under the recent proposed changes, I think at Robinwood, we can increase our density by 35 additional units. We were sort of targeting about in the 70 range for Robinwood. And so—
And I'm sorry, Director Evans, you mean with what passed or with what was originally proposed? Because we did have that amendment.
So I believe with what passed, that was last week, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Monday, right? I think with that increase,
I think that the challenge is
35 additional, and in addition to the we're zoned for 150, so we're trying to get to at least like 226 is sort of the sweet spot.
And there was and I'm so sorry to cut you off, Director Evans, and I'm sorry, Alderman Huntley, but just point of clarification here. There was a unintentional error that contributed to the additional density not being included. And that's something that will either be fixed before we leave or hopefully after we leave. Just point of clarity there. But please continue. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Looking forward to hearing more about that.
Yeah. So our sweet spot is about 226 in terms of units for Robinwood, and what we think the neighborhood and house currently designed can bear, and what would meet the market need. We will continue to monitor and hopefully work towards that. Obviously, if we can't get to that number, if it's a little less, we will work with what we have. Keep in mind, within that 226 number, we are adding, including home ownership.
Yes.
So we are in each of our new phases, and also because we receive the 9% tax credits, we're able to consider some different things in the overall project. And all of us want home ownership options that could be a natural progression for our residents or new families coming in, that there's somewhere to go once you reach certain income limits, because what we don't want is the disincentivize people to increase their income, and then they're sort of phased out of housing,
Right.
and then they have to move out of their neighborhood, and that's a lot. And so having another option that's affordable within the home ownership realm is important, because it's such a huge leap to go from affordable housing rental to home ownership, or even private rental market.
I was going to say, yeah, it's tough to go from market
It's
rate
almost-
rental to home
it's
ownership.
Almost a mortgage in and of itself, some of our rents here. But I also wanted to briefly mention to you, give you a report on the progress we made based on the grant that you all worked so hard for us to get last year of $500,000. So far, we've expended we have fully expended $307,000. We have an outstanding invoice with the city of $393,000, with about $53,000 remaining, of which we plan to send another invoice in very soon too. So all of the grant funds will be utilized. And how it's improved our operations, we were able to hire a management team, Allegiance Management, to help with the day-to-day maintenance and management issues of the site. Bayview Construction Services to help oversee our contractors and give guidance to our maintenance crews. We're about 90% occupancy for our public housing units overall. We are 100% licensed at Bloomsbury Square, Robinwood, Eastport Terrace, and we're about, I would say, 96% licensed at Harbor House, which is phenomenal compared to what it was even prior to receiving those funds. We have a great relationship with the city, with the inspections team. Ms. Jeanette Roeder does an outstanding job with the inspections, communications, and particularly helping residents understand their part in providing that education as well. We are 94% complete with our recertifications for public housing. For our HCV program, we're 100% caught up for all outstanding recerts of prior to 2024 and prior, and we're about, I would say, 88% done with 2025, which means we're on target. And with regards to our court proceedings, we have become more successful in gaining judgments. We've had over 70 judgments so far, which is increasing responsiveness with regards to residents in terms of paying rent, And although it's still a challenge, I think the message is getting out that HACA is able to take these matters to court. We could not before because we had difficulty receiving the licenses, and you can't file in court without a license, and you can't lease a unit for an unlicensed unit. And so the licensing issue was sort of the key in trying to figure out that piece, because it impacted everything, our ability to lease up, our ability to enforce our lease. And so, but addressing that has really helped us out. We wouldn't have been able to do it without the funding to prepare the units and the funding to continue the monitoring. It's still a work in progress. There's still a lot of work to be done. There's still units that need to be addressed. There's still a lot of resident education that needs to happen in terms of the collaboration, but things are vastly improving. So I wanted to let you all know that your contribution in assisting us in receiving those funds has been remarkable in terms of our progress.
That is, all of this seemed like very, very good news. I know that the housing seems, the news is not often good, but this is fantastic. I have just two quick questions, then I'll turn it over to Alderman Huntley. My first, if a unit was unlicensed and a tenant was living in the unit and they can't be charged, I just need clarity on that. So is the judgment from is the judgment from from when the license was unit? So let's just, for example, the license was on from January through March, and then let's say it was unlicensed from March through like October, and then it's licensed now November through December. Are they being only charged for, let's say, the January through March when it was licensed, and they may have missed rent then?
We can only file on months that the unit was licensed.
Okay.
We cannot file for unlicensed months. We would have to remove that from the filing. And so,
I don't want to turn this into court, but who is monitoring that or checking that? Because some units have been offline for longer than others, and so when a tenant is taken to court, one thing I've learned from State Senator Shanika Henson that she put out in her literature is that 99% of the time a tenant doesn't have a lawyer, and so if they don't have a lawyer saying, "Hey, my tenant was offline actually during these times," how is that? Could you just clarify, and not getting yourself into too much, how is that handled?
So we usually, they may not have a lawyer, but there's usually a legal aid representative that is stationed at the courthouse. So if at any point during a proceeding, a judge will always ask the resident, "Do you want representation?" Even before you really get into the hearing, and say yes, everything is continued and stayed until that person gets representation. And so, but if for whatever reason they want to go on their own or they don't access legal representation, we have to conduct almost a near audit on every file before we even file, because of the stringent rules that are in the Maryland courts with regards to the notices, the method of notice, like what needs to be mailed first class, certified items that need to be literally fixated to the doors at different stages of the ejectment process or termination process, coordination with the sheriff's office, the type of information that needs to be provided from their office and our office. There's a lot that has to be right in order for a judgment to even be considered, let alone awarded. So, and in that, we have to parse out all of the months that a unit isn't licensed. And which is why one of the things we also did was hire a rent coordinator, a rent court coordinator. All that person does is review the files to see if they're proper for filing in court on our end.
Okay.
Before we file. That's their whole, and it is a full-time job to do that, because you could have, like you said, a resident have several different periods where there was compliance or not in terms of the rental license.
Yeah.
And so that's, but yeah, it's highly technical requirement.
I felt that was important just because I get that question, and I've actually just recently emailed you about that. I get that from constituents all the time. And I think just having, this explanation out for the general public is good. And knowing that,
and also,
yes, there is process for you to, for those things, those concerns to be handled.
Yeah. And one thing I think that is it also prudent for residents to understand too, we can file for all those months, but also we can file for just 1 month at a time. And so if you were late with last month's rent, we might be only filing on just last month's rent.
And so just there might not be transparency there. But hey, I didn't want to turn this, put you on the defense. I just wanted clarity there because you had mentioned that, there'd been an uptick in those cases. And obviously that's a huge constituent services thing, and the city will be asked about that. Just really quickly again, you mentioned also with the Robinwood development, the gas station, obviously, I know that's been a hot topic. The remediation, and I'm sure you haven't maybe gotten that far, but I know with the Spy Road site, that was a huge cause for concern. And so I'm not telling you something you don't know, but I'm wondering, at what point I know it costs a lot when we were considering Spy Road. And so at what point does that come into consideration there?
Well, really we would be awaiting the results of the assessment. I think the city was pursuing a grant to engage in a further study of the area. Okay. And that would better inform how viable an option the Spyro site really is. We don't know. We know there needs to be some remediation. We don't know the extent, and we don't know the feasibility.
And that was for public clarity, that land was signed over in a lease from the city to the Resilience Authority to handle the cost associated with that project, just for public clarity.
So we would probably have more of an idea maybe sometime next year, or once the study is performed or the work of the Resilience Authority is performed, that phase is completed, that part, then the information from that will inform how we proceed or not with Spa Road.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Alderman Huntley.
I got to be honest with you. You guys chatted long enough that my question went out of my head. So I'll pass.
Okay. I appreciate that. Any other questions from the committee in regards to there were, I think Alderman Huntley's your question hand may have went up when we were discussing the properties and licenses.
Oh, yeah. So this will take long to answer. But Director Maddox Evans, my question is just, it almost seems like a miracle that you guys have been able to get so many of these properties licensed from a time when they were not. If I have a resident ask me about that and maybe think that they're skeptical, we're cutting corners or something, and I trust you we're not, but that's the kind of question I might get asked. In just a couple sentences, how would you explain to someone how we were able to take such a dramatic jump in the percentage that was licensed?
Funding.
Okay, there we go. That's a short answer.
So we needed funding to pay contractors to repair units and to pay our maintenance team to keep the units up. And with an influx of funding, I can send maybe 10 to 12 contractors at one time to work on a number of units at different sites at the same time, as opposed to working on single units here and there as funding allows. So we can bring online maybe 10 to 12 units a month as opposed to a quarter or half a year, 6 months period with only a handful of contractors to be able to assist. So that's the difference. We receive funding from the state, from the county, from the city, and we're utilizing all of it to repair our properties.
Okay, I'll take it. Thank you.
Yes, and you can both add to your public comments. Your committee sponsored the catalyst of funding there. Okay, it was the 500,000. Then it was the 1.5 million from our partners, and so make sure you advertise that, Alderman Huntley and Alderman Schandelmeyer, as you go about your business in your personal capacity, if you know what I mean. Mrs. Maddox Evans, did you have anything else to add, or I'm sorry, Alderman Schandelmeyer, any other questions for Mrs. Maddox Evans?
No, Mr. Chair. I think we pulled out of the spiral and things are looking up. I'm very excited with the work and the progress that our director here has made, and I'm very happy at the small role that we in the committee played a part of under your leadership.
Absolutely. Alderman Huntley?
Nothing more from me.
Fantastic. Ms. Maddox Evans?
All right. Well, thank you all very much again for your commitment to our families and our communities. And so we wouldn't be able to do this work without your support. So we appreciate your service greatly and wishing you well, Alderman Gay, in your future endeavors.
Fantastic. I appreciate it very much. And I will definitely be seeing you around. So thank you very much for coming this afternoon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Alderman Huntley?
Oh, I was waving goodbye.
Oh, okay. I forget. What was your dog's name again? I'm sorry.
My dog is
Yes.
Hobie. Oh, is he in the background there?
Yeah.
I see him.
Does
It's
he have
dinner
anything
time.
for the good of the order?
Yeah, he'd like some supper.
Yeah. Alderman
Mr. Chair,
Schandelmeyer?
Mr. Chair, yes, sir. For the good of the order, I just want to say thank you for the hard work that you've put into this committee. I know you put blood, sweat, and tears into it. These issues aren't academic to you. It's personal. Your constituents are impacted by housing issues and everything surrounding them on the daily. And you don't just talk, you walk the walk here. And whether it was bringing in property managers for failing to maintain their properties adequately and actually threatening subpoenas to finally get them to sit down with us, or deep diving into the issues around affordable housing redevelopments in Haka. You were like a dog hunting the bone, to use the Hobie metaphor, which we all know and your constituents certainly know. So thank you for your service, Mr. Chair. We're going to miss working with you.
For the third time tonight, I'll say that I can't say it better than Alderman Schandelmeyer. But in short, Mr. Chair, dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of people are sleeping easier tonight because of your work.
I greatly, greatly appreciate that. And it's been fantastic working with you both, working with this and everybody that's on right now, and looking forward to seeing you all next Monday. And so is there we don't really need a motion to adjourn, but is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Awesome. I will see you on Monday. Thank you all so much.
See you, folks.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you for having us.
Have a good one, everybody.